Hey, welcome back. Do you remember our old boy Dave, formerly known as Boyinaband? Well, today I got nostalgic and decided to re-watch this, and oh boy did it not age well at all.
I wasn't taught how to get a job.
Clearly. Here you are on YouTube crying about being unemployed. Jokes aside, do you really need to be taught how to fill out a form? I'm asking genuinely. Also, before I go further, what are the odds our Boyinaband was homeschooled?
But I can remember dissecting a frog. I wasn't taught how to pay tax.
I don't know if it's different in England or the UK. I know in some countries they just give you a little check at the end of the year. But in America, they give you a form that has a bunch of numbers on it called a W-2. At the end of the year, you take those numbers and put them in a tax preparation program, and that's about it. Either that, or you pay someone to do it for you. If you do really want to learn the nitty-gritty on tax preparation, you would pursue a degree in accounting. Otherwise, just use a tax software like H&R Block, or pay someone to do it for you. Teenagers working minimum wage jobs do this yearly.
But I know loads about Shakespeare's classics. I was never taught how to vote. They devoted that time to defining isotopes.
Is this something he needs to be sat down and taught how to do? He doesn't elaborate, like, what do you mean you were never taught how to vote? I mean, let's be honest here, the only real thing you need to know for a general election is what your personal beliefs reflect in your candidate of choice and who you want to cast a ballot for, which I guess to some degree requires an education. Also, fuck off, mate. Shakespeare's classics were fucking ace.
Wasn't taught how to look after my health, but mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
You didn't take physical education in high school. What the fuck do you mean? They have classes where they teach you what food groups you should be eating and how to exercise. They teach you the basics. Maybe he was homeschooled.
Never spent a lesson on current events. Instead, I studied the old American West.
Which is history, which clearly he was taught. See, this is why he should have never dropped out of high school, cause current events are things that are happening currently. Maybe he needs to go back to school, if anything. And you know what? I actually do remember being taught current events in high school. This like triggered a memory of mine laughing my ass off. So maybe in the UK, when they homeschool you, they don't teach you what's happening around the world.
I was never taught what laws there are. I was never taught what laws there are. Let me repeat, I was not taught the laws for the country I live in.
I know in America, I can tell you from my experience with a basic public school education, that you are taught the Bill of Rights and all of the amendments of the Constitution. In England, I actually had to look this up. So Europeans, if I'm wrong, please tell me in the comments down below. You are taught the laws if you go to what's called Stage 4 of academics, or secondary school. I have this quote here. In addition to the compulsory subjects, which would be civics, science, math, etc., students at Key Stage 4 have a statutory entitlement to be able to study at least one subject from the arts, design and technology, the humanities, business and enterprise, and a modern language. We'll come back to the modern language later. Aside from this, in your secondary education, you're taught a citizenship education, or civics. It's basically where they teach you the laws of your land. Schools are not required to teach you each and every individual law. No one's got time for that. Even lawyers don't learn each and every single law. But it is the national curriculum to learn what the basic laws of the land you live in actually are. So either he's lying, or at some point he dropped out of school. Or maybe he chose not to take those civics classes. I don't know.
But I was never taught my human rights. Apparently there's 30. Do you know them? I don't. Why the hell can't we both recite them by rote?
You're not taught these specific rights because they're from the Declaration of the United Nations. Most likely the laws of your country that you are taught coincide with these. What I'm saying is, it's redundant. The 30 human rights are like, you have a right to marriage, a right to a free trial. You already know this stuff, or if you don't know, now you know. Or apparently you don't know because you think a basic education is worthless. Also keep in mind, these rights are not even applicable to some countries who are not in the United Nations, like Kosovo.
Not taught to budget and disperse my earnings.
I think some schools now in America are starting to teach financial literacy. But this is generally a life skill that either your parents teach you or that you learn after you become a productive member of society. Keep in mind, schools are only required to teach people the bare minimum. Teachers are already overworked and underpaid. It's just not their top priority. They would need more resources, and this would divert time away from curriculum that is required to learn. It's also hard to balance what you can actually teach children. There's only so much information they can retain in a day.
How money works at all? Where does it come from? How does the thing that motivates the world function?
All right, if we look back to the basic curriculum, you have a statutory entitlement to be able to study at least one subject from the business and enterprise comprising business studies and economics. So that is to say that you do need to be able to pass a subject from either business studies or economics. When you take this economics class, you learn how money works, how stocks work. They teach these classes. I would know, I took them in high school. Also, you are required to take an economics class to even graduate from high school. This video ain't adding up.
I was too busy there rehearsing cursive.
Cursive is no longer taught.
Didn't learn how much it costs to raise a kid.
It costs thousands of dollars, if not more, to raise a child. They have these classes called sex education, where they teach you about having safe and responsible sex, so you don't have to raise a child during your teen years. I mean, even as an adult with means and an education, raising kids is hard and expensive.
I don't know what an affidavit is, but I spent days on what the quadratic equation is.
An affidavit is a written statement confirmed by oath or affirmation for use as evidence in court. That is a very oddly specific thing to be taught in school. I don't know, to me personally, I don't think teachers should waste time and resources teaching children very specific law terminology. Unless you want to be a lawyer and pursue a higher education in law, I don't really see the problem here.
Spent days on what the quadratic equation is. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. They made me learn that over basic first aid, or how to recognize the most deadly mental disorders or diseases with preventable causes.
There is a reason they don't teach first aid, and that's because it's something you have to pay and get certified for. Also, it is not a one-time certification. You have to renew it annually. Basically, a trained professional has to make sure that you know what you're doing. Not just any random high school teacher can teach this to you. Yes, it is helpful to know basic first aid, but what actually happens in a life or death situation? Realistically, what happens is that you call your respective emergency hotline, and they send a response team over who are going to be a lot more effective than you are. They have the machinery, knowledge, experience, and skill to deal with these situations and do it every day. Honestly, how often in your life have you ever actually needed to perform CPR? As for the diseases, which ones in particular? I don't know. Doctors don't even learn every disease and how to treat it. They do tell you to eat in moderation, get your shots, and stay active. That's really all you need if we're being completely honest.
Or how to buy a house with a mortgage if I could afford it, because abstract maths was deemed more important than advice that would literally save thousands of lives. But it's cool, because now I could tell you if the number of unnecessary deaths caused by that choice was prime.
Yeah, learning how to pay a mortgage would save literally thousands of lives. I'm being facetious. However, there are these things called real estate agents who help you buy houses. Also, banks help. You know, some of these things they don't teach because there are professionals who pursue a higher education to do these things. Like, for example, if I have an allergic reaction, I would go to an emergency center and get diagnosed by a doctor. Your basic education system does not need to teach things that paid professionals do for a living. What they do need to teach you are basic resources so you can understand how the world works.
Never taught present-day practical medicines, but I was told what the ancient Hippocratic method is. I've got a headache, the pain is ceaseless, what should I take? Maybe try some leeches?
So let's get something straight here. We think learning basic math and science is a goddamn waste of time, but we think learning medicine is easy as pie. What exactly do you think goes into learning medicine? Why would you expect a basic rudimentary education to teach you practical medicine? Let's define this further. I found this quote off of vocabulary.com. It states that the practice of medicine is the learned profession that is mastered by graduate training in a medical school, and that is devoted to preventing or alleviating or curing diseases and injuries. Let me emphasize, mastered by graduate training. This is not something they will ever teach in high school. Unless he's referring to, like, taking over the counter medication or something. He's super vague about what exactly schools aren't teaching children. I really don't expect our children to be learning applied medicine at a 9th grade level. If he's referring to you not overeating or eating healthy, that is something in which they do teach you. Now, I honestly don't know what he's referring to with the Hippocratic method. There's a Hippocratic oath, but that's an oath you take in med school. It has to do with patient confidentiality. Or maybe he's referring to Hippocrates, the ancient Greek physician. I don't know, I can't find any source on whether that's even taught in school, so I'll give you that one. Also try a Tylenol for the headache. I think it's more effective than leeches.
Could we discuss domestic abuse and get the facts, or how to help my depressed friend with a mental state? No, but learn mental maths, because you won't have a calculator with you every day.
So you don't want to learn history or science, but domestic abuse? In high school, what kind of law and order SVU shit is this? I'm going to be honest, I don't know if high schools even offer criminology classes, which is where you'd learn more about stuff like this. Anyways, you notice he never talks about taking classes outside of high school, or even going to college. Is that because to further your education you'd have to pay and would actually learn the things you want to supposedly learn? LOL. If your friend is struggling with their mental health, then they should probably go see a psychologist. I would refer my friend to a trained medical professional before ever giving out unsolicited advice. Also, let's be real, you're not always going to have your phone on you every minute of every day. Learning some mental maths is actually a very useful skill to have in life.
Say it's not the kids, the parents are the problem. Then if you taught the kids to parent, that's the problem solved then.
So what, you're admitting that kids need a basic education?
All this advice about using a condom, but not for when you actually have a kid when you want one.
By the time you want a kid, you're, I'm assuming, not going to be in high school anymore. Bro who is 16 and planning on starting a family. They also do go over some of this in sex ed. I had to take that damn baby doll home as homework, LOL. Also, please, you in particular, wear that damn condom, for the love of God.
I'm only fluent in this language. For serious, the rest of the world speaks too. Do you think I'm an idiot?
Yes.
Chose the solo over the political system, so like a typical citizen, now I don't know what I'm voting on. Which policies exist or how to make them change. Mais oui, je parle un peu de français.
When you go to vote, they usually tell you on the ballot what the policies are before you vote on them. I guess you do have to learn how to read. Also question, where did you learn French from? Why even include that bar? It just raises more questions. Are you in a French-speaking household, or did you have to take French classes in high school? Interestingly enough, I found this little tidbit here. It has always been the case here in the UK that all kinds of secondary schools for children over the age of 11 include French in their curriculum, and it is more or less a compulsory subject in these schools. I know in most high schools you do need to take foreign language classes to even graduate. Liar.
So at 18 I was expected to elect a representative for a system I had never ever been presented with.
Bro, be for real. How are you 18 and not know who your representatives are? That amount of ignorance is laughable. You live in that system. You learn it in history classes. You can open up any app, Twitter, Threads, Instagram, or open Google or whatever, and learn about what's happening. At some point, the onus is on you to understand where you live and what the fuck is happening. I mean, clearly the educational system failed you. Dude doesn't even know where he lives or what the laws are, for fuck's sake.
But I won't take it. I'll tell everyone my childhood was wasted. I'll share it everywhere how I was educated, and insist these pointless things don't stay in school.
Bruh, why'd this video get 47 million views? He was literally wrong about everything